In this video, we're going to be talking about jazz scale patterns. My name is Paul Tobey from jazzmental.com, and this is video 3 in our playlist on free jazz piano lessons in YouTube. So if you've missed 1 and 2, you might want to go back and review those, especially number 2, which talks about common 2-5-1 jazz progressions. But in this video, we're going to continue on from there, and we're going to start to apply scales to the 2-5-1 progressions. This is super important if you ever want to compose or you want to solo on top of progressions, especially in jazz standards, or you want to play in a jam session, or just soloing in general. This is super important and very fundamental to your overall playing. So we're going to get started in just a second. Okay, we're talking about jazz scale patterns. Now, in the last video, we talked about the common 2-5-1 progression. And we're going to continue on from there and learn what scales are to be played over top of those 2-5-1 progressions. So for example, the 2-5-1 in C, what we did was comping like this. And we're going to continue on from there. If you take a look at the music that I've prepared, the left hand is now going to take over what the right hand did. So when the right hand did this 2-5-1, we're going to do that now with the left hand. And instead of playing this chord on the C major, we're just going to play the 3rd, the 13th, and the 9th. Which is really cool because that is a chord that is built in chordal voicings, so in fourths. So again, the 2-5-1 in the left hand is this. And the bebop scale is super important because a normal scale only has 7 notes. If you take a look at it, it's before it gets back to 1. So it's only 7 notes. So what bebop scales do is they add an extra passing note. In this case, it's this note. And that's important because it divides now the beats evenly. Pretty cool, right? And then when you get to the G7, it's the same scale, just starting on a different note. And then when you get to the C major 7th chord, the note is actually a flat 6, which is the passing note. Now you'll notice that the hands intersect a little bit. For example, the first chord is this in D minor. The first note is actually right here. So because they're not playing at the same time, then it's doable. That's important to learn because the interplay in the hands, you want to keep them, especially when you're soloing a lot of times, keep them close together. It tends to support the soloing a little bit more when they're together. So in the end, what you should be able to do is play this in all keys, but I haven't done it in all keys in the piece of music. What I've done is I've done it in C major, in B flat major, in F major, and in E flat. So the reason why that I did that is because I wanted to leave it up to you to learn in all keys, because it's just patterns. So if you transmit this to other keys, it's basically the same thing, same voicings and the same scale pattern. So when you get to the exercise part, I'm going to put, again, just like in the last video, and again, if you missed that video, it's common 2-5-1 progressions and how to comp. In this video, it's common 2-5-1 progressions, but played as scales, which leads and lends itself more to soloing. Therefore, when you go to practice this, I've also got the backing track, which is just the drums playing at 120 beats per minute. Okay, what we're going to do now is play the exercise with the jazz backing track at 120 beats per minute. So I'm not going to play the entire exercise, but as you can see, the scales which are laid out in the exercise are important to do just like this because you need to get that underneath your fingers. And obviously, when you're comping with the left hand, you can hear it pushing the beat. That and of 4, and then the and of 2, and again, the and of 4, and of 2, and of 4, and of 2, and so on and so forth. So it continues like that. Maybe to your ear, it's not the most glamorous thing to play, and you're thinking to yourself, I just want to jump to be able to solo. And that's fine, except for the fact that soloing requires this. It requires your knowledge of these scales. So what I'm going to do is just give you an example of soloing that would be not that far away from these scales. In other words, a mix of these scales and a few other things are a little more advanced. So let me give you an example of that. So eventually what's going to happen is as you get those scales more and more underneath your fingers, you're going to be able to branch out a little bit. In the next video, we're going to add blues scales to this, and then a combination of blues and jazz scales together is going to start to make your playing sound a lot more like music. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for spending a little time with me. It's Paul Tobey. This is a fairly new YouTube channel, and we'd be really grateful if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. So we'll be adding about 5 videos a week, just like this one. The videos are mainly focused on technical skills development, recording tips, and even professional and business development for musicians like you who want some help from a professional musician like myself. So I've toured 17 different countries, made 8 albums, was signed to a really good label, and made a full-time living as a professional artist. So I know and I'm confident that I can be a great resource for you. Subscribe now, and I'll see you in another video.